This is Phantom Electric Ghost, and we're live on the air for the first time with David Beekum. How you doing tonight?
Great, great. How you doing?
I'm doing great. We want to let everybody know we are a featured podcast on the Newsly platform, and if you use the coupon code GHOST, you can get 1 month free premium subscription. Again, we'll be a featured podcast on there within an hour or two, and you can stop scrolling and start listening. Use coupon code GHOST, get 1 month free premium subscription, so you can listen to the Phantom Electric Ghost podcast on Newsly. And with that, we're going to talk to you, and you're the co-founder of Tweva. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, the co-founder of Tweva.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it seems like you're in the space that I'm kind of in the world of talking to a lot of influencers, and I end up talking to a lot of small business owners. We initially started with musicians, and people should realize all musicians are kind of owners of their brand.
Yeah.
And so we started with them about 2016. We're at episode 886 of the podcast, and that's where we are tonight. And also we wanted to bring up for the point of this episode, the subject that we're going to get in is how to build like your own create a community with the work doing. So I think that's what we want to do, building a local
Oh,
community
this is a great
around your
topic to talk
business.
about. Yeah, this is a great
Using
topic. So, I mean, this is a perfect audience to talk to. Your listeners, being in the audio and the artist world is something that is such key piece, and they don't have exposure unless you're connected with a big record firm somewhere. The exposure to building a community in a local business, or even let's say you go to another city or town, you don't have that technology. It doesn't exist out there yet. So we've kind of built that out with Tweva. It didn't start though in the artist side. It started in local restaurants where one of my co-founders, the older gentleman, he actually passed away last year, but he always liked the idea of bringing people together. He had multiple restaurants, had I think about like 20 different restaurants. He would never tell me the total because he's like, if you tell people that you have multiple restaurants, then people are, oh, you got multiple restaurants, I could sue you to get this one and get that one. So he's like, I can't tell you everything. But whenever he was there, he would say, this plumber over here is sitting on this one side, and this is all of his potential clients that live and work in their community. So he'd always try to help them out. And he would put, he'd say, hey, why don't you put your business card up on the front of the desk, and when people leave, they can find you. So he was always about this close community, help each other out. We're sitting right next to each other. We're eating, right? And so we kind of developed the product around this idea of what can we do with the communities that we live in, So that's kind of how it started.
That's pretty cool, because I like to do with the podcast. The whole point of this podcast was to build a community of emerging and independent artists that don't get interviewed, right? So because they're not, A-listers, B-listers, C-listers, I started to do that. I got some attention. I actually ended up interviewing some Grammy award-winning producers. And then we branched out into just influencers, podcasters, shamans, therapist, because our whole mantra as a musician is expansive. So what does that mean? People try to pin us down and say, well, you're an electronic musician. Say, no, I'm an expansive musician, because I like one day I might channel some punk rock like the Clash. Next day I might do some Sun Ra type stuff, or some Pink Floyd type stuff, or some hip hop. So I didn't want to get pinned down, and everybody wants to pin you down. And I said, well, you know what? The same thing with the podcast. I want to be as expansive as possible. And for me, it's worked. People have told me you should be narrow, and I'm like, it doesn't work for me. So that's not my mindset.
You have the more creative kind of brain where you just kind of, you could say, oh, I want to go talk about this. I want to talk about that. And I kind of call that, I've been naming it myself, as like, I think I'm addicted to education or expansion of, different things. The people say, what kind of music you like? I'm like, I could listen to anything. I could listen to hip hop, rock, Dave Matthews, classical music, jazz, just anything, whatever that mood is, right? It's
Yeah.
you could just
Well,
listen to it.
I think it's the holistic approach. Like I'm a Bowdoin grad. I went to a school that taught the Socratic method. And so
Mhm.
the idea of it is that you're a lifelong learner. You always change. You always question what you don't know, and you try to get into things. And being, I'm a synthesist. I use digital sampling, analog, all kinds of stuff. And people say, "Oh, you should only be in the box. You should only use the DAWs." Like, no, I've got hardware stuff with transistors. I like
Yeah,
old and new, and whatever serves the song, whether
yeah,
it's my clarinet or a saxophone, or actually going on a Moog or doing something with a wavetable synth. You basically you should expand your mind to be able to handle everything from sampling to AI. And a lot of musicians don't like AI because they think it's going to replace them. The way I look at it, like if you think about music production, and let's say, hey, I want to have my AI assistant when I go to master my record use the same kind of mix that Fleetwood Mac did on the Neve
yeah,
board back on Rumors. I think that's a cool use of AI. That's a
yeah,
very creative use that they could actually pull those settings from that Neve board by listening to the record and figure it out. That's the
yeah.
kind of thing that would help an artist in distribution and
Yep,
marketing. That,
absolutely.
but to replace the artistic process, like 90% of it, I think we would disagree with that. We would say, well, no, that's probably not the thing. The human factor and creativity, we don't want it to replace us, maybe just to help us.
Yeah, it's more to take out some of that time-consuming things that might take someone 4 or 5 years just to get down, like you're saying, some of the settings for this track or that track. If the AI can help us get over the hurdle, you can reach a new height in just the creative space by allowing you not to drudge over something for 4 hours. You say, "Get this done." Brrr,
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
And
That
then you go,
that's
"Okay, let's work on the next piece."
yeah, it's not like where you sample a David Bowie Queen song and just change the lyrics. They
Yeah.
like we we want to actually have something that comes in and say, well, maybe if you gave me a bass line that's like a monk bass line, the Thelonious Monk bass line, or something like Miles Davis did on Bitches Brew or something. If you can bring that aesthetic without
Mhm.
copying it note for note, then that's
Yeah.
valuable. 'Cause that
Yeah,
that would be useful.
absolutely.
So, yeah, so I can understand, so how do you help small businesses kinda navigate what they could do with AI? I know I'm jumping to that, but AI is the big thing today.
Yeah, AI is huge. I mean, it's touching every part, like you're talking about in the music industry. I'm seeing it in photos, like photographers. I've seen these sites where you upload
Mhm.
50 or no 20 pictures. I think it's you upload 20 of your own photos, and then it will spit back 100 different great headshots, and you can say, "Give this to
Variations,
me
yeah.
in this area or that area, or professional, or outside or outdoor." And I'm just sitting there going like, what is that going to do to the to the photography community? They almost have to take that and embrace the little baby steps and say, hey, come in for something free, right? And then let me show you what the real talent stands behind, having a real photographer
Mhm,
do it. And so I think we're all going to kind of have to embrace it. Like you're saying, it can help you do a portion of a track, or maybe lay down what we would call like a beta in software, right? We create our first
mhm,
version or MVP, um, and then you build upon those creativity pieces. But in the business world, it's almost going to be something where it's not going to be forced upon us. I mean, you can choose to do it the long way, the hard way, and a lot of people sell that way. But for the majority of people, I think we're all going to have to take a little piece of it and include it in what we do. Like, so if you are in the content space and you're creating articles, you're not going to want to write the whole article with AI. But is it a great way to get 10 titles or 5 titles or some keywords for that specific
or
industry?
yeah, hashtags.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, get some hashtag.
hashtag, and also doing the, setting up all the stuff you need for the
Yeah.
SEO.
Yeah.
Like, if you can
That's
get an
incredibly
AI,
helpful.
yeah,
Yeah.
to do the SEO and to actually set up the metadata, and do it so it's actually gonna hit the algorithms you need to hit.
Right.
That to me as a musician, that's a lot of what we need because a lot of like if we're trying to figure out which hashtags are going to work or which TikTok or reels or shorts or
Yes.
which combination and which keywords, then the problem it becomes is a lot of times things are okay, it's because this thing got a million hits.
Hmm.
Then everybody wants to clone it, and then the algorithm shifts if they get too many people hit that. So
Yep.
like
Yep.
the problem
So you
is
almost
it's
have to
always
find the surrounding tags around the popular tag to, create
yeah.
content for the sub tags of that.
Yeah, and then the problem is that you don't wanna just be doing cloning. A
Yeah.
lot of, at least a lot of musicians were like, "We like the idea of an original voice." So if you
Mhm.
just start using it to clone things to get popular, then you lose kind of the creative spark of what the human factor is in art.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
so that's where I think the mistake might be where people say, "Well, I can go and use it to clone something, and maybe that will work," but I think the audience will start to get sick of cloned things that they see are too repetitive,
Yeah,
and I
and
think that
people are
would
smart, so they're gonna see that. Like, I was on a podcast the other day, and they were jokingly saying, "Would it be ethical to write your wife a happy 20th anniversary card with AI?"
when
And I
she
just had
figures
to
it
laugh.
out.
I was like, if you're married to your wife or significant other for 20 years, and then you come back with like a card that's like, "Thy roses of
Yeah,
eyes that you have with your
yeah, too much
breath."
Shakespeare.
Yeah,
Like,
I
she
mean, if
knows
she
it's
doesn't
fake.
realize that that
She
wasn't you, I just like, you made it to 20 years. That
yeah,
was a pretty good bet that you got there. So yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to be the genuine you, but you're gonna have to be able to use those computers and those algos to kind of take the next level in everything. But think about all society. Instead of us not knowing how to say this or greeting or an ending in an email or even rewriting an email. Sometimes you go, oh, there's a spell check or I
mm,
forgot a comma or a period. It's just bringing the society up a couple rungs on the ladder so that we're not,
yeah,
misunderstanding some of the things that we're saying. We're saying it a
but
little bit more clearly.
yeah, also the translation, like a lot of us that are into multiple markets. And maybe you can speak to this. Like, if you're a business person and you're hitting global markets, you might not have any idea how to hit the Asian market,
Yes.
and you might have to hire consultants to figure out how to do it, right? Or the European market, or
Yep.
a market in Sweden or Finland or Netherlands.
Yeah.
How do you hit that? Or Australia? How do
Yeah.
you market to that without
Yeah. And
going and spending a lot of money? You don't
exactly.
even know if you're really going to make it. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
if you don't have the
I can
money to
see
do
that
that,
those type of challenges.
yeah, if you don't have
Yeah.
the money to do that, it's now, opens up the whole entire community to be able to target that market. Maybe not to that 100%, but you can get it pretty dang close to it.
So that seems so. Your approach with Tweva, it was initially like it was from restaurants, and then you opened it up to be beyond that, and
Yeah.
you're kind of pitching it for influencers and other types of business people. But what do you actually offer people if they go to that website? I like to talk to that website at least for a second, just because the audio audience. So if people go to https connect.tweva.com, what will they find there?
So I'll explain a little bit more about Tweva because it's not just the restaurants, but so Tweva was created in that first idea of how do we get locals to connect. You've always been in a restaurant, probably with a significant other, and you kind of look over and you're just like, they're not talking at all, like that couple were over there. Or if you're driving in the car down the highway, you're like, we've been driving next to these guys for like 2 miles and they're still not talking. And you're like, what? Why? I mean, there's so many things to talk about. They could be talking to the server or this or that. But sometimes we just need a little spark. We need something that maybe that's local or that we're both interested in to like spark that little conversation. And so that's kind of how we came up with, or another reason why we came up with Tweva. So Tweva is a local TV channel for every single city and all of the small businesses and influencers. So if you think about like if you're in a major city, like I'm right outside of Orlando, we have Orlando TV, duh.
Mhm.
You have Tampa TV, duh. You have Miami TV, of course. But every little small city outside of
Your
those,
local
they
market.
don't have their own TV channel. So we figured if we could create a way
Mm.
that allows small businesses to put this little box right behind their TV and join into the network, it will allow podcasters, user-generated content, right? Music videos, artists, people, just general people can add themselves to the TV, and they can kind of create content for TVs everywhere and just, hey, who's that guy, right? Then now you start seeing who they are in the community. And we're not talking about an ad. It's not like this ad, like those creepy ones in, the community TV. They got the Superman pose, like, call me, I'm the plumber, right? Call me, I'm the electrician. It's like, no. We're beyond that now. We got our TikToks, we have our YouTubes. It's a cross between those two. Let's talk a little about the content side. Is you're going to want to create something that's like not short form, not super long, 2 minutes. Like This Old House, right? Yeah. This Old House. They go to repair a house. Everybody watches it. There's like 3 or 4 people on that show. There's what is there not a local contractor in your town? Of course.
Yeah.
Why isn't the local contractor like, all right, we're going to replace these stairs in this city? And somebody takes a video, right? There's always somebody there with a cell phone. Everybody's got a 4K camera in their pocket now. So can we create content that shows local things in the city, from contractors, and then show that on TV? How about the local chiropractor? Again, not with the pose, call me, I'm the best, but adjusting someone's back.
Yeah,
right?
actually showing
it. Yeah. So this is kind of a new aspect or a new view on TV, because TV has really been this one way. Like, hey, the satellite gives me these channels and I select which channel, and then everybody in the room watches the channel. And we want to change that.
Yeah, you get the official content for that network or that channel. And then like, how do you get local programming? For me, it's like what I try to do with the reels and the TikTok and the shorts is we've been taking like, maybe a 4-minute slice of our thing. And we know people are probably really only going to watch the first 30 seconds, but we still throw it out there. And we make sure the first 30 seconds of it are engaging, So then we throw that out on the TikTok and the reel and the short, and it actually drives to our like landing page. We might have our landing page link in there too. So then people go and they just hit wherever they want to hear or watch the podcast. And we've had significant increases where, we get about 1,000 plays of the podcast a week. And we hit over 40,000 plays just over the weekend. And, we've been out here since 2016, so we finally are toward our goal of hitting like 50,000 plays this year. And we think we're going to do it. And, we have bigger goals than that. We want to get like 100K, but we've been engaging on these platforms with the micro, short forms.
Yeah.
Even though we're a long form podcast.
Yep.
Yeah. Because we are like an hour-long podcast, but we realized to get people to like check us out, we do those short clips. So is it kind of like that? People just do a
kind of like that. Yeah. We need a little bit longer than 30 seconds because let's say you're sitting at the bar and somebody else is sitting at the bar and we might be talking. And that could last for a minute or two before somebody looks up, grabs a drink, whatever. So it's probably going to be a little bit longer than 30 seconds, but a little less than 5 minutes. And think about it. If you're there and you look up and you see maybe a tweet from the mayor on the TV, you know it's a Tweva TV. It's labeled, right? And then you see something happening in the community. You see a little local ad, and then you see me and you talking right here, and you're like, "Hey, what is that about?" And then the title on the bottom is how to build local community with small business tweet. You're like, "Hey, that's cool." So you grab your phone, you point it at the TV, and you take the QR code, and it brings up, guess what? The landing page, right? Building a local community around your business. Now, I'm not a big sports guy. So my wife loves sports. I'm not, I'm more of the nerd. I'm the nerd. So I will go around to the TVs and kind of like, I don't know. Sometimes I look at news or whatever, and I don't want to see a murder. I don't want to see negative stuff. I'm looking for what's cool to talk about. And so this is something that I could help people, provide other people watching is podcast content, videos. I want local artists to be able to put their art, right? Why can't we put art pieces on TVs around? painters,
Yeah,
and
that's a big thing.
digital art
Yeah,
NFTs are becoming very popular too. How do you sell those? Put them on TVs, put them around the community,
my daughter
especially if they're local.
my daughter's been advocate for disabled artists. She's a artist doing a residency for trying to get art to be more disability friendly, which is the use of online galleries and showings for artists
Mm,
that can't get to the gallery and to actually give people more access. And so she's been working on that. She's been doing a lot of work. She's an artist herself, and she's highly interested in doing these presentations online. And it seems like that
yeah,
your platform's kind of cool for that because
absolutely.
artists of all levels, like poets, they want to do like a free form session.
Hmm.
You could show local poets at the coffee bar,
Yeah.
doing some slam poetry, or you know
Yep.
people doing like art just painters just paint like on demand, just whatever they feel like in front of everybody. Yeah, there's all
Yes.
kinds of cool art that could be opened up for
Yep.
people that don't even realize that there's all these artists out there, and inspire people, to get into it.
Yeah.
Bands just like doing bedroom productions, like from their
Hmm.
studios.
That's right. Exactly
Which
right.
we do. We go live on our Facebook and stuff and do stuff like that. We've even had bedroom producer festivals that we did in 21 and 22, with like 3-day festivals with bands all over the world that we just
Wow.
had running on our YouTube and channels for like 3 days straight. And we went crazy booking everybody we talked to and say, hey, everybody we talked to, come and do a half hour. Just do a half hour of something kind of live, just to see, show people what you can do. And it seems like, yeah, if we could get that on TV, in
Yeah.
some way, that's kind of cool to get people to go and go to their live event.
Yeah,
If you
it's
had
different
such,
because I mean,
yeah,
you're publishing it to people that know you. I'm
yeah,
trying to publish this out to people that not they might be getting their hair cut. They're at a barber shop. There's a TV, there's 4 TVs there. What are they watching?
yeah,
Do we really need to watch a Netflix movie 17 times?
or soap operas all day.
Or soap operas all day? I mean, there's so many creative artists out there now that there's so much content, but there's not a really great way to show it. I mean, I can stare at my phone like this, right? I can do this whenever I'm out in
Yeah.
public, or for the 5 minutes that I'm out in public, or the 10 minutes that I'm out in public, I can interact with other people by talking about what's on the screen.
Hmm.
This
Yeah,
is this
I
all
think,
makes sense. We're getting there as a society, but we've created a way that people can share that content. And you're exactly right. The artists, they need more exposure because there's a lot of art out there that's incredible, but sometimes it's like, well, I'll like it if you like it, right? And so people look for that validation sometimes
yeah, yeah,
to say like, oh, do you like it? This way, you can start building in your own community. Like I put one in my town hall, and they're like, hey, this is great. We can show exercise classes for the seniors. We can show when the farmers market is coming up. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And the cell phone repair shop and the local Italian food, and all these little things that you can't put on general TV because it's expensive. Now we can
yeah, yeah.
finally kind of share high school events, right? And somebody kicks the winning goal. Hey, put that up on the TV. Let it live for a week or something, And then the kids, hey, let's go to the restaurant. Let's eat some wings or some appetizers and watch you kick that goal. That's awesome, right? This is the kind of interactivity that we're looking to create. And we lived through this COVID, craziness. So I was like, oh, this is like the worst timing. But now that as we're out of it and people are, communicating again, it's just this excellent time for people to join in the network and start participating.
That's cool because, yeah, like TV has always been a little prohibitive. Like a lot of, we're like, oh, can I really afford to go on, Hulu? Yeah, can I really
Yeah.
afford to, push my stuff on a TV channel? And you look at the rates, and it's like, well, and that's just hitting my local community, and a lot of us, like, we actually hit like worldwide better than we do locally. A lot of,
Yeah.
like,
All
we
right.
run into the
Huh.
thing where your hometown, like Nirvana came from a town that nobody cared who they were. right? They had to go to
Yep.
Seattle, and then they broke worldwide. But it wasn't like their local area that would have ever
Right.
broke them. So with musicians and artists, a lot of times we have to reach a very wide, and when we have to, navigate what kind of promotional tools are out there. So what are your thoughts? Is this really more for somebody that's in a local space, or could it go wider than that?
It could go anywhere, really. It's just promoted as when you see a Tweva TV, think that something is local. So let's say if I go to the
Hmm.
beach and I see see a TV somewhere, I might look on there and say, okay, where do I rent a surfboard? Right? Where do I
Okay.
find a local coffee shop? But would I see anything on there that could be just not general TV? Yes, that's going to be your independent artists, music
Mhm.
videos, things of that nature. And that's where now you pull out your phone and you scan the unique QR code,
Oh,
go to
code.
their landing
Okay.
page, right? And
So
see
then I
that
could get you.
content. Yeah.
That could get engagement there, not just
Yeah, and
thinking
it's
that you're.
extremely targeted too. So it's not, $500, thousands of dollars. It's going to be, hey, I put 20 bucks in my account. I put 30 bucks, 5 bucks. You
Mhm.
put it in and you just say, hey, show me once an hour or show me every 10 minutes. You burn through your little tokens a little bit faster that way. But the idea is to make it so affordable that we have an overwhelming amount of content. And once we get to that point, then people can start really, yeah, I like this person, or I have so much content on my TV. I'd like only these types of subjects, right? You might have a business owner that says, I really, really love this type of art or this
Mm.
type of, content being created. And people may go to those places just to enjoy the experience
Mhm.
and the art. And you bring the whole business to a new level. Like in some of the Italian restaurants, when we first started, before we had a ton of content, we added drone footage of Italy, of all
Oh,
of the
cool. Oh,
historic
that's
places.
cool.
So instead of again watching a sitcom on TV and you're just like, okay, well, there's my pizza, just eat my pizza, and you're now like looking up, you're like, oh, honey, I think we should. Italy looks kind of nice actually, and you're like cutting
Maybe
your
we should go
food. Yeah,
there.
just bring, it looks so different. And you're just looking around, you're going like, wow, this brings the experience a little bit more into it. Same with a French, coffee shop. It's just, it's a little bit
Mhm.
more neat, but it's not just that. It's a community-based TV. So I'm seeing the local artists. I'm seeing when is there a parade coming up, or let's see when's the latest band. Where's the band playing on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? And that's like your TV
Yeah, yeah.
guide with your rolling content, same kind of thing. So
Yeah, yeah. That it sounds like it's really interesting because TV has always been a really good marketing tool. I mean, that's kind of what it is, you know.
yeah,
Like
it
soap
is.
operas, what were they selling? They were selling soap.
Right.
You know, they were selling
Anything right in
so
between those.
and they're
Uh,
still selling soap. You still see them selling
that's
soap
right.
today. That's all over.
That's right.
It must work for them because they're still paying for it.
I
So
sometimes I think when I
yes.
watch like general TV, I'm like, are they creating content for the ads, or do they create the ads around the content? Because I don't know. Sometimes I really think like this content is really good for these people that buy that. And I'm thinking
Yeah,
like, if
yeah,
you got that much money to do advertising, like, hey, I got $1 billion this year. What TV shows that you have about this subject? I think we all think
yeah.
that this content is being produced for us. I think the content might be produced for the products that we buy.
Yeah, well, we always see it in movies now. You're like, they get so much product placement in movies. You're like, really? Like from
Yes.
food to cars to phones. Okay, let's put that in the shot. Let's put that in the shot. Okay, it's like this whole thing's a commercial.
Yep. I remember when Mac was first coming out, I was like dating my girlfriend, my wife now, and she was like, "You only watch movies with Macs in them." And I was like, "No, I don't." And she's like, "Yeah, you always point them out because they're just sitting in the background or something." Like, "Oh, there's a Mac," even if it's a chick flick. And I'm like, "Well, I kind of think it's a cool computer. Like, I'm a big PC guy, but I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like the look or something of it." And now, I use both,
yeah,
but
yeah,
there was some serious product placement with those
yeah,
trends before they became trends. And you're right.
yeah.
Maybe that's the reason.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's just like as a musician, we're trying to figure out how do we make money because we live in a world where we get like 0.05 of a penny for a stream, and
Yeah.
everybody listens to streams and they don't download. So we have to get licensing opportunities. So we do a lot of things called sync licensing. So I work with
Hmm.
people. I create like themes for podcasts. I make
Mm,
background music for video games or actual soundtracks for video games. You license things for Twitch gamers.
hmm,
So through my license agency, I actually license my music so gamers can actually use it when they game on Twitch. So there's all kinds of things that we can do that pay higher rates than our music. In fact,
mm.
like we're doing a shirt like this, I get more money for selling my shirt than my music. That's just the way
Wow,
it is. But
that's
that's
crazy.
kind of the thing that's really been kind of a frustrating for artists is like the music itself has been kind of devalued in terms of what
Mm,
people are willing to pay for it ever since Napster,
mhm.
and we've had the other ways to make the money. It just seems like so anything to try to help artists, get people to actually listen to the core thing they want to do, which is not the shirt, it's the music.
Ooh, yeah, that might
So
be a hard
so
one. So
so
I haven't studied that one.
advertising, yeah, yeah, it's hard. Well, it's hard.
Yeah,
Music is a harder thing to sell because it's very individual, so it's
yeah,
hard to
my
get
brain would
into.
like immediately think, okay, advertise, get enough viewers, listeners, and then try to sell, your own downloads. But then that's hard, right? To try to not have
Nobody
somebody
wants to
use
buy
Spotify
downloads.
for that. Yeah, so
Yeah,
they're
they
not
don't
going to
wanna
pay for
buy
that.
that. But
Yeah,
what they will buy is vinyl, and people are getting back into cassette tapes. So if you
they're
actually
getting back into
sell,
cassette tapes. Really? Oh man, I should go pull
yeah,
mine out.
yeah. There's a whole generation of kids that are into cassette tapes, and they like having the physical medium, just like the kids. These are kids that don't want to pay for the vinyl because the vinyl costs like $30, but the
Yeah.
cassettes cost like $10. So
Ah,
people are independent bands are putting out cassettes, and it has artwork and liner notes, and they're limited edition, and they'll sign them and stuff. So the thing what artists have found is
wow.
like if we go and we create physical product, even a USB drive that comes with
Yep.
a little poster or a card or some kind of cutout or a sticker, the
Yeah,
kids are willing to they connect with the artist if they have something physical. And
that
what's
is
the one
definitely
thing
true.
people forgot
Yeah.
about with the digital downloads is you lost the physical connection that when you bought a Led Zeppelin record and you look at the vinyl and it's like, oh, there's all this cool cutout stuff on the record. People
Yep.
forgot that kind of connection was important.
Hmm.
And they're starting to realize we got to have some kind of physical medium as a musician to get the art, to get the community to actually connect to you better.
Yeah, and you're losing the focus too that you did have when you placed that, cassette tape in the player and hit play and the song, stopped and then it went to the second song.
Where they kept
Now,
on listening.
yeah, yeah, and now it's like, okay, well, what's next on the random list or the shuffle list or what's
Yeah.
playing, what's related and, with the world today, everyone's just so fast switching back
Yeah.
and forth and sometimes I find myself doing that. I say, "No, no, no, just listen to the full album." And you start to hear the real
Yeah.
creativity behind not just those 3 songs that are your favorite. You start realizing, wow, that person is very talented. So you are right. I have a few CDs that I've paid for pre-release, and they've sent a CD with a package and a T-shirt. And I will say that I would wear
Mhm.
I wore out those shirts because it was just I'd pick that one out. Oh, I love that shirt, right? So that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Release
It,
it, show it,
yeah.
get it
For
in your community. Um, I mean, I'm coming from the visual side, so create something visually entertaining that people would listen to and watch on the TVs, and then put in there on your QR code, limited offer, buy my
yeah.
T-shirt, because you can get those. I'm sure you have those sites where you can buy 10 T-shirts. You don't have to buy 1,000 T-shirts to get a good deal
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah. We can do micro things like you can do just like 100 shirts or 50 shirts. You can
Yeah,
do like only 1,000 vinyls or maybe like 100 cassettes. And so you can have micro production. And so and you can make significantly more money than you can from actually streaming.
mm,
Cool thing is like the idea is if you're a low band that has a scene, right? And you actually are playing like every week and then you're trying to push out your shirts and your merch. this sounds like it could be a cool solution to bands that do have that local following and are maybe trying to get the next town to get into it, and they're just trying to build an audience. They can start from
Yeah.
you know
It's
in or a
good.
suburb of Boston, or a place like Manchester. I live in New Hampshire, so we have
Mhm.
a music scene. We have some clubs in downtown Concord. We got more clubs in Manchester, more clubs in Nashua, and then people would probably go to Boston when they really start to break through. So if you can
Mm,
build that audience and get them to follow you, and then
yes.
use a service like yours to like say, hey, we're going to be playing Boston. We want to play near
That
Fenway
is
Park.
exactly what
Then
we're
you can,
looking for. Yeah. Help the
yeah, I
locals.
definitely
And
think,
so
yeah, I
with
definitely
normal
think that would
TV,
resonate.
yeah, with normal TV, you think, okay, the programming piece is about 52 minutes, 54 minutes, right? And then they have this little block of time that they can auction off at the highest
Mhm.
price to anybody who wants to pay for it. Well, we got 6 minutes, and Clorox bleach is going to buy this, and right, the car company's going to buy this, and pharmaceutical is going to buy this. So, oh, this last piece is $3,000 for 30 seconds. We're the complete opposite of that. I have some content for the town. I have the
Mhm.
weather. I have social media, right? I have some content, but in majority of it, I can get it over with in about 5 to 10 minutes. So that means that I have 50 minutes every hour.
Oh,
Every
wow.
TV that we need content, that we
Oh,
want to be able to show high quality. I don't want junk. We want to be this high. When I look at a Tweva TV, I can see a really good local band. I can see something that's interesting to me. And then phase two will be
mhm.
download the app and show me what you're interested in. And when you're in geographical locations, I'll put that up on the TV for you. That's a whole new
Oh, the
realm of,
GPS will tell you where something is.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. So
that's
I
cool.
know if the average time that you're going
Yeah,
to go
because
into
that's
a bar or into a barber shop or an ice cream shop, 15 minutes, some 30 minutes in others, 2 hours in another, I can show ads for vinyl production companies or podcasts that I should be on as an artist. How about that? Right. So I'm sitting there and
yeah, yeah,
I'm an artist and I'm in hey, come on my podcast. Let's talk. Local connection. This is
yeah.
what it's all about. And it's very hard to do unless I'm specifically typing in, I have to find somebody to talk to about so and so. But then remember, that's not that little spark that I was talking about in the beginning. Sometimes we don't know exactly what to say or what to talk about. We just need that little piece. And it's like, oh my goodness, let's build this. Let's talk about that. That's kind of another reason why it will be so powerful.
Yeah, because I always like to do kind of I don't know. I've always found the kind of radio kind of conversation has been my forte in podcasting. Is kind of where I start because like I'm into jazz. I'm into kind of free form, like jam band stuff, and we kind of just like okay, you trust yourself as a musician, and you start to trust yourself when you're a podcaster that you can figure out what you're going to say. But
Mhm.
some people be very scripted, and I understand that, but like I think when people start to be their authentic self and they get comfortable with the person in the mirror, then you don't have to be as scripted, and you start to learn how to be in the flow. And,
Mhm.
and I think people
Absolutely.
usually want something that's authentic. If it's too scripted, then they're gonna say, "Well, that's like an infomercial." And then they're
Yes.
like, "Oh, so if you do something that feels authentic, if it feels like it's real, if it's just a snapshot of something real, then I think
Yes.
that is accepted.
It's
That
like
that's
that
my
mix between, like,
opinion as
reality
an
shows,
artist.
right?
That
It's like
I'm
people
coming
are
from an
interested
artist
in
perspective.
reality shows because they're, like, not
Yeah, yeah.
scripted, but they're kind of real human. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think we've
Behind the
gone to
scenes,
this
you just
corporate
don't know.
world. I I think we've gone to this corporate world where, we've hit the peak in, let's go back 100 years. Where did you get 200 years? Maybe you have to go back 200 years. Where did you get your milk from? The cow. Where
Milkman.
did you get, or the
The
farmer,
da
right?
the dairy guy.
The dairy cow, right? The dairy farmer, and then you'd have another person to get your shoes from, and another person to get your cheese from, and another person to get your bread from, right? And
Yeah,
you'd
especially when
have,
it's
I- let's say 40, okay? Just so let's say 40 different, maybe 30 interactions that you'd have with person to person in your community over the course of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or a month, even a month, maybe a new person every day. Most people, including me, can pick up almost all of that at Walmart. That's one person.
That's
and now they've taken the person out and putting a freaking robot in there.
Yeah.
So, at some point we're going to like the cycle will change and we're going to go back to that local.
Yeah, well, I actually, the daughter has been really into, like, one of the benefits of living in New Hampshire is we have a lot of local farms, and we actually have signed up to this service where we actually get all of our meat from like local farms.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah, and it's like a new trend where people have started to figure out, like, you can actually get local meat from like grass-fed animals and animals that are not corporatized, warehoused animals, that you can like, wow, this meat tastes better. I wonder why.
It tastes better, and it's like not that much more expensive too. Because you're not shipping it, freezing it, paying for the gas. It is enormous diesel rates.
Veggies. We have farmers markets.
Yeah,
we have like a benefit, like in New Hampshire for your Tweva would be like, if anybody from New Hampshire is watching, we have tons of farmers that come to our main street and have a farmer's market. Once it gets a little bit hotter, they even bring it indoors to a greenhouse during the winter, and they all the local farms, like the dairy farms and the turkey farms and the farms doing corn and vegetables, and we have apple orchards and peach orchards, and they all come and they sell their wares on they all close down a couple streets downtown. It would seem like this type of Tweva thing would be totally cool for them to actually, take a drone and go over their fields.
Yes.
You take a drone and show their bison, show the turkeys that they raised and the goose and the geese. I think that, that's a big opportunity.
But show that at 9:00 at night, right? Show the farmer's market that exists during that 1 or 2 hours when I might be home dealing with the kids and I'm like, oh, I'm busy. Everybody's crazy. But then when I'm out at night, I'm like looking up at the screen like, oh, okay. That may be more fun than making pancakes in the morning for the 17th time, right?
Yeah.
Bringing the kids out to do something again. See, this is bringing that local connection between people. And that's why our slogan is for the locals. It's not for corporate. It's not for big boy. It's not for,
it's the local guys.
It's for the local guys. It's for the farmer's market. You take your cell phone, you're walking through, you got your little stabilizer on. You're like, oh, I want to share this to the Tweva network. Boop. Now we have a new piece of content. It's not going to live for 5 years in there. It'll live for 24 hours, 36, 40, but it's new content. Maybe there's a fire engine that goes through town and they're, brand new one. And, they're doing something. Someone's going to take a picture of it and it's going to go on the network screens, or someone takes a picture of a flower with the water on it, shining in the sun rising. That's a cool picture of the town. Something with City Hall, I mean, you could put that on Facebook, but it's kind of cool to have it on local TV. But back to the farmer thing. I love it. That's
video. With a video. The video thing. And we even, they show up and so you don't have to go to your corporate bakery. You have one of the things cool about in New Hampshire is we have so many local diners and bakeries and donut shops and, that you don't have to go to the big name place. So if you're
hungry,
they engaging, and a lot of it's just word of mouth, and people just know because the town, everybody knows this is like the best place. So they don't even really advertise on TV that much at all. But it seems like a lot of businesses, at least in New Hampshire, could benefit from something like this because maybe the big networks, that's too expensive, so they don't even try to engage that. But this seems like something that they would.
I've ran a couple commercials years ago and I, send it from the satellite down so we can hit all the TVs, $3,000 for one commercial. And you go like, okay, well, 10 million people will see it. Somebody will call. One call. I kid you not, one call.
Yeah, that's the problem.
A month to develop the commercial. And I was like thrown off. I go, I mean, this was before this idea. And I'm going like, what's wrong with that? And they said, oh, it's repetition. People need to see it and trust it. for longer.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, check that box. I'll never do that again because I don't have $50,000 to to show
The
it.
engagement. Yeah.
Yeah. So then when these ideas came in, I was like, okay, well then just do it local. Like I can show this in a local bar or a local restaurant for a long time, and that can be a lot
Yeah.
less expensive than showing it to 10 million people repetitively. And we can be very targeted about that. So I know where my customers kind of live and shop, and if I can show them a
Mhm.
repetitious thing, and like we mistakenly did, this is the chocolate cake experiment. So when we first put it into a restaurant, we called Cisco because Cisco's the big food company that they were using. And we said, hey,
Yeah, they
you got a
share all the
picture of
food,
that.
yeah.
You got a piece. Yeah, the big boys too. Hey, you got a piece of that chocolate cake that you send us, cheesecake. So they sent us a couple different clips and we put it on, but we didn't have enough content. Like I said, you don't have 60 minutes of content. You have 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. And so it just kept playing over and over and over again. And, we
Oh,
called them back 30 days later and we said, hey, how's that little ad? I mean, it was fuzzy. It was old. It was 720p. They said, oh, we're selling 40% more. We can't keep the chocolate cake on the shelf. And so I asked my buddy who had passed away and I said, hey, Mario, why would that happen just because they're seeing chocolate cake? And he goes, David, you do not know. People eat with their eyeballs. And I was like, what?
yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's true. Yeah, they see it first and then they
They're
keep
just seeing
seeing
it.
it and go, yeah. Like, oh
Yeah,
honey,
that
I just want a
repetition.
piece of chocolate. Yeah. So
Well,
it does
why if you
work.
keep on seeing the french fries, then you want the french fries. Like, keep on
Yeah,
seeing the
you
french
want the
fries
french
every
fry.
hour, then eventually it's like, "Oh, maybe I should get some fries."
Yeah, it's
So
in
you
like the
keep on
back of your
showing the
mind
cake.
now.
Yeah, it's
So imagine
a
getting
lot of musicians, we realize yeah, the
go ahead.
subliminal kind of thing or like with video, it's like right in your face, but like musicians, we've learned like there's shadow tracks with like audio information we put into music that has
Mm,
subliminal ability. Which was
mm,
like when you're dealing with audio, it's a little different. But video is like it's the same thing that your brain keeps on seeing something, you think it's repetitive, but if it's like food or it's like something that somebody like a service, and you keep on telling them about it, eventually it gets in that person's head and
yeah.
they're probably likely to engage. And so if you can get that
And
repetition, that's
yeah.
kind of what it is.
So that's exactly why it's, building a local community around your business like that. Going back to that title is it's you're trying to build a community that you are the expert in. And going back to this old house kind of feel to it. You're not look at me how great I am, right? You are, hey, I'm going to do this task and I'm going to do it great. And I'm going to show you every little detail of why I can do this amazing. And you have a free choice. You can pick any contractor. You can pick any chiropractor. But let me show you why I'm really good at what I do. And so you're going to build.
Mhm.
You can do this online. You could do it through social media. But if you don't know, if that person sitting in the barber shop or in the nail salon or in the restaurant does not follow you, it's gone, right?
Yeah, they won't
With
get it.
with a local
Yeah,
TV, you're
that's the
constantly
problem with
being
social media.
played. Yeah, you're constantly being played, and you want to, now we have to talk about how do we optimize content, like you're saying. Where's the subliminal messaging behind tips and tricks to sit in your car so you don't have back pain? Little things like that. Oh, that
Mm.
guy, he said I'm sitting wrong. I got to get a little pillow for the back when I'm sitting in my car driving. Or don't cross your legs
Yeah,
for
yeah.
4.5 hours at a time. Again, it comes down to these little things of you're trying to build a community that you already live in. How many times you go see a doctor or you call a contractor? Like my AC was out a couple of months, maybe it might have been last August or something like that. And oh, hey, where'd you come from? Oh, 45 minutes away. 45. There's got to be an AC guy. There's got to be 10 AC guys in my city,
Mhm.
but
You still know
they
who they
go
are.
where they go where they're called.
Yeah.
So again, this is a problem that exists, I think, in a lot of cities. My wife will drive a far way to go to a doctor. There's got to be experts in every city, right? There's not 50,000 doctors. There's
Yeah,
50,000
we just don't
residents
have the
and
record.
5 doctors. Yeah. So if this is something that we can solve when you're at the doctors, now you can see podcasts, the interesting podcasts. You can see the local artists play. And I specifically, as a nerd, as a computer person, I want to see where they're playing. I hate when I miss a local
Yeah.
band at a local place. Some place moved in a little
Yeah, because
bar.
they're all just they're just putting up a little, posters in the coffee shop and people ripping them down.
Yeah, yeah.
That's like that's the best way to engage the audience.
Yeah, it's a good way, but it's a static image. It's not them jamming. It's not the energy behind the
Yeah.
video. It's not a little bit of audio in there. And when you show that 4 or 5 times in between stuff that I like, that's a lot more powerful. And that's
Oh,
exactly why
yeah.
car companies pay for it. That's exactly why pharmaceuticals pay for it, because they know that it's powerful. Just hasn't
Well,
been
it's
able to be
interesting too
given
because
to everybody else.
'cause a lot of diners and restaurants, at least where I live, they have the TVs. The barbershop has the TV. So
Yep.
the car dealer has the TV. So there's a lot of places where you're stuck sitting in the waiting room, or you're in the dining room, and you're in the barber. You actually have that TV, so you
That's
have
yep.
the You're not really being engaged, like you're not really watching anything. And
Yeah.
I think that repetition you were talking about with the chocolate cake, like if you're sitting in a barbershop and you keep on seeing that cake, you're probably going to go get the cake after you leave. You
Yep. Yep. And how many places do you know that it's like literally right next door or
Yeah.
within 500 or 1,000 feet? And this is the other thing. I'm not trying to tell you, hey, advertise, 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 advertise. Try to get somebody off their butt off the couch. No, no. I'm like advertise, 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 advertise of somebody who's within 500 feet of your business, right?
Yeah, they're
That's
actually out.
cool.
They're already out
That
there.
that changes it. They're up, they're dressed, they're walking around, they're happy. Man, now I want to go over there and get some Chinese food, right? Now I've seen it a couple times. And I didn't just see the food. I saw the guy in the back of the kitchen. He's talking about this, or he's spending
Yeah,
time with
yeah,
his
you're talking
family.
about
What is this? Yeah. What is it all
you're
about?
talking about like you're talking about like more dynamic type of advertising, because like if you go into a restaurant and see actually people cooking, like
Yeah.
you don't just have the owners talk about he's the best,
Right.
like a 1970s type of thing. You
Right.
like they show the person making the donuts, making
Yes.
making the omelet, breaking in some eggs, doing it right. If you
Mhm.
Then you're gonna get way more engagement. Like if you show the band, you just don't show a picture of them. Or they're saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, come." They're all just talking to the camera. Actually, show them on stage. Show them on
Show
stage
'em on
playing.
stage. Yep.
You show the
Showing them
crowd
stringing
getting
the
engaged.
guitar before,
Yeah,
checking the tunes, talking to somebody out there, talking to a fan, and then it goes back to the music. This is a new
yeah.
form of
Signing
content.
some
It's not.
T-shirts.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. It's never been done, right? Because TV, nobody would say that. Oh, well, what are you going to do in the 30 seconds? Well, I want to sign someone's T-shirt. No, you can't do it. It's 30 seconds. It's $5,000 per 30 seconds. Like you're gonna like, all right, well then
you
just
can't
put the
do it.
tickets, the price, this, sell, 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 sell,
Yes.
sell. That's not building a local community. If you want to build a community, you're going to build who you are. What's your personality like? And those people will form around you. Then they'll find you on social media, and then they see you, right?
Yeah.
Or they
Yeah,
could see
with the
you
scan
sitting at the
codes.
local
Yeah,
town.
yeah, because the scan code thing, yeah, that's cool. Because like that can immediately get people sitting in the restaurant and go, "I'm gonna grab that code," and
Yep.
then they got it. And yeah, it's a new world. Like it's like just like we were talking about AI. Like
Yep.
television engagement, reasonable price is really cool because I'm a child of the '70s. I grew up with TV. That was what I
Mm,
had. We had the three or four channels. That's all we had.
yep.
And
Oh, I had those.
it's interesting. And
I
now
I
that
didn't
you
tell
got
you
so
before,
many,
but you were showing me your equipment behind you. I had my dad would bring home from the like he would upgrade the church stuff. I had a 16 channel Mackie
Mhm.
board underneath my bunk bed and
Oh.
2 VCRs and a video mixer, and all analog, and and
Yeah,
a
yeah.
286 machine to the right. I was like, one day it'll be connected in there. And so I live that too, and we're in a completely new world now. This is everything's being connected together.
Yeah, it's very interesting, because I live in this kind of hybrid. I still love the analog, so I got a lot of analog, but I got digital stuff too. You can see what
Yeah.
I'm out here doing, using it.
Yeah.
But it's I think what people have found is like there's a love of the past and the present, right? So there's a lot of stuff from the 70s and 80s that's back. Like I can get synthesizers from the 80s that have been recreated by the companies that made them. You know, they actually put them back out because people are so nostalgic for stuff from the 80s and the 70s. And a lot of musicians, it's like, well, you know, I don't want to pay $20,000 for this Moog. So Moog is making them again. And so people can get, and then the sound of these things is just so unique. It gives us as artists a lot of tools that we can use. And so we can have the old tools and the new tools all at once. And I think this is a cool idea because TV is like something that's like seems like an old tool. Everybody's talking about, oh, you got to be on TikTok and Reels, and yeah, you do. But there's other tools that you can bring back. It's kind of like the TV, bringing that Moog back and actually using it like a Hammond B3 or something. It's like people still want to hear that.
Yes.
You know? So
absolutely. You are right. It's not a replacement for TikTok. It's never going to replace the big boys, but is it a tool that you can use? Yes, it's absolutely a tool. Has it never been used before? Not to this point, you know, and that's why it's like there's a learning gap in there. It's like, how do I create content for it? Oh, I'll do what I did 20 years ago. It's not going to work. You have to kind of do what you're doing now with you're saying your tools. You have to mold that with something of today. And once you combine it all together, you get a new piece and it becomes something new. Legacy technology with the new.
Yeah. Because they have the interconnectivity, like you're connecting with you know, the scan code to the modern world, but you're using like an old tech TV is like old tech, though it's you know everybody's got 4K TVs or 8K TVs or whatever. But the fact is, it's an older idea, and it can engage people in a way that you didn't realize you could. And I think it's the same thing with why do people want to go back and look at their VCR? Why do people want to go get vinyl or reel to reels? And people are looking for Atari 2600s. Like, why? Why would you want that? Like, well, because
you play those on emulators, can't you? But it's not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah, people don't want to go find their Intellivision. You know, it's like, well, why do they want that? It's like, well,
oh my goodness, I had the Intellivision too. I was asking my friend. I was like, "You had the Atari? Didn't you have the Intellivision? What's that?" I'm like, "Oh,
what about a ColecoVision? What about a ColecoVision? Remember that?
Coleco? No, I don't remember that one. I don't.
That one was super rare.
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
That one was really crazy. It was a really interesting system. They got themselves in trouble because they made an Atari emulator.
Ooh.
And then you could actually play 2600 games on it.
Really?
And then you can't.
That's not going to go over too well.
That didn't go too well.
No. That's funny. But my brother, I was going to say, my brother-in-law, he's still... program. Yo, sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was just gonna go back to my brother-in-law. He'll post a picture of his record player, I think almost every night as he's listening to a new album. Not a new, but to me, I'm like, I've never seen that album before. And he goes, "Yeah, you haven't lived until you heard this one." And I know he's taking a drink and he's just sitting down, relaxing, listening to a record. And that, for a lot of people, like we talked about, is so nostalgic, and it's calming, and it's relaxing, and it's a new way to do it versus just like, oh, put in an earbud in my ear and listen to, you know, Spotify or something. So it really is about enjoying the new and the old.
Well, the vinyl today, yeah. I mean, I've seen the really crazy into like high fidelity analog audio systems where people are getting tube amplifiers. They're getting really high end like analog circuitry, and so the thing is, like, a lot of records were never translated to CD or to streaming services. So there's a lot of people that if you get into vinyl, there's a lot of albums that never came over. There's albums that never got converted. And so if you're getting into being an audiophile, you're into the music, you can find tons of records that were never brought over. And so it's a cool thing to get into, like the full experience. Like you said, like when you read a book, you don't just read the outside cover and get the synopsis, read the cliff note. To really understand a musician, it's the deeper cuts that really show you who they are. So a lot of young people, I think they're missing the boat when they only listen to the playlist because they're
Yeah.
missing the depth of the artist they're listening to. And
Hmm.
at least in my age, if we had, the 8 track, or we had the vinyl, and we basically would listen to the whole record because that's
Hmm.
just part of the process. And you would focus. And I do tell my audience, like, if you're into an artist, like, or a writer, like, read the book, listen to the whole record, go find something from Spin or Rolling Stone or your local local newspaper that says that's the best new artist, and actually give them a shot and listen to the whole thing. Because that's
Hmm.
the only way new musicians are gonna hit the scenes if you actually support the new artist and actually give them a shot and listen to
Absolutely.
it.
You have to spend that time and just listen to it. And I always I tell it to everybody. I'm like, did you hear track 7 or 8 or 9? It's like, no, I listened to the first few. I'm like, you're missing all halfway through the song. They hit a bridge, and you're just like, where did you come up with that? And I love those. I
Yeah,
always fast forward to those tracks to listen to because I just think they're so unique. And I would think in my head, why doesn't the radio play those? I don't know, but
yeah, the
sometimes
deeper
it's the
tracks.
greatest pieces of
Well, I
music.
was a college radio I was I was a college radio guy, and I would play the deeper tracks. You'll find, like, college radio guys or people who used to do indie radio. We would go into the deeper tracks because that's we were kinda like, big fans. And so,
Uh-huh.
like, when you're a real hardcore music fan, like, you want people to fully understand the artist you're into. And so you would go
Mm.
dive into the deeper tracks, and it was it's certain type of radio shows that do it. Today, and everybody's so into hits, it's hard to get people into that mindset unless you're in the indie kind of merging underground world. And it
Mhm.
seems like, this would be a cool opportunity for anybody who's into that to kind of draw focus to their internet radio or their program where they're trying to get people to remember about,
Yeah.
the art, and, like, find the art that you don't know is there. And I think this is a
That
cool way to build a
yeah.
community for that.
I don't
And
know if it's me getting older or it's just, that addiction to knowledge or something I don't know, but I feel like when you hear something that you haven't heard before, or you read something or see something you haven't, it is such a different experience than seeing it the second or third or fifth time. I especially when it's really good and it hits you real. It's like,
mhm,
wow, like I never knew that existed. What else have I been missing? And you start thinking like that way. Um,
yeah.
but there's a lot of talented people, and if it takes everybody 10 years to get through the system to a record label, we're going to be missing so much incredibly good art. So let's bring them out with Tweva TV. Let's get them everybody on TV and spread the word.
Well, I wanted to thank you for being on the show tonight. This was building a local community around your business using Tweva, and check that out. And we'll be all the links that we have will be clickable. So it'll be clickable once we fully publish, and we're going to be on a lot of different, almost everywhere you can find a podcast. We will be by tomorrow. So we'll send that landing page for your audience, and you can use it. We can also send you an MP4 of the podcast itself, and you can use it for any promotional purposes that you want, and you can clip it up and put it however you want anywhere.
Perfect. I love it.
So again, thank you for the program, and we encourage you to connect.tweva.com and check it out.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. It was awesome. I love talking about tech and audio. And if you are a small business and you're interested in joining the network, definitely go to connect.tweva.com. And thanks again for having me on the show.
Have a great night.
You too.